Another expert who is joining us, someone who's been following this big, beautiful bill closely, Senior Director of Government Affairs for a great group, the National Taxpayers Union. Thomas Aiello is with us. And hey, Thomas, how are you, sir? Welcome.
Hey, Jeff. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So how important was it for this big, beautiful bill to pass?
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely crucial. I think if you ask 99% of people, no one thought that they would abide by the July 4th deadline, including myself. It was a really aggressive timeline, but they were able to get it over the finish line, and the president is going to sign it tomorrow. And it's important because if we didn't sign this bill, almost 80% of taxpayers would see a tax increase by the end of the year. It would be about $4.5 trillion. You would see higher taxes across the board on all income groups, a slashed standard deduction in half, and a lower child tax credit, along with the elimination of many small business deductions. So it's very important.
We just heard from Donna about some of these green energy scams that are still out there. What more can we do to try to cut spending? I mean, are there other opportunities? Because that was one of the criticisms of the big, beautiful bill, that there was still too much spending, too much deficit spending.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a real concern. That's what the Freedom Caucus tried to bring up multiple times throughout the process. And the Freedom Caucus was successful in phasing out a lot of the green energy tax credits, finding more ways to save. And look, the one big, beautiful bill, it's not perfect, but at the end of the day, it lowers taxes, it reins in the size of government, and it changes a lot of the government programs that have been built for years, including when it comes to the green energy tax scams. I mean, we see a phase out of a lot of this solar and wind tax credits, which is a good thing. We don't think it goes far enough, especially with the changes the Senate made. But, you know, there's talk of a second or third reconciliation bill this Congress. There's many opportunities to address that, and we need to address it because, quite frankly, green energy isn't as reliable as baseload power like oil and gas. I think in some parts of the country, wind and solar can be economically feasible and be additive to the grid. But if we just start unplugging natural gas fired plants and replacing them with wind and solar, it's just not enough to meet the energy needs that this country needs.
So the next step is some additional packages, Thomas, that Congress can vote on that brings about additional cuts. I know there's going to be a Recisions package. I know we have the DOGE cuts that were outlined. Can we turn that into legislation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when the president signs the bill tomorrow with his pen, hopefully the ink doesn't run out for another bill that can structurally reform government. You know, we're going to be spending $84 trillion over the next 10 years. It's a lot of money, and we really need to get serious about the size of our debt and our deficit. I think rescissions are one way to get there. The one big, beautiful bill will make meaningful changes to address it, particularly with Medicaid and the SNAP program and a handful of other useless spending that was included by the last administration. But it's really going to be a whole of government approach. We're going to need agencies to identify misplaced taxpayer dollars, wasted taxpayer dollars, and find a way to work with Congress to make sure that those dollars are reined in and we can begin the process of substantially reducing how much money we spend. And look, you know, there's a lot of misinformation about the one big, beautiful bill, particularly around Medicaid. It's something that the Democratic Party has been hitting over our heads for the better part of the year now. And I think if you just look at the text, it says if you want government-sponsored health care through Medicaid, you need to work or volunteer a minimum of 20 hours a week or 80 hours a month. That's pretty reasonable. And, you know, we're not going to be kicking Granny out of the nursing home, right? We're not going to be kicking children off of the program.
I completely agree.
For select groups.
Thomas, well said. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being with us and outlining these important issues. All right, it's now time for our memes of the week.